Simon on the far side out of his own zone. Looking to break out. Nice little saucer pass to Bobby J, who stick handles into the zone. Pinched off along the boards, but he moves it ahead for Ed Ward. Ward battling Wilson and a couple of big boys there as they bring it to the corner. Donnelly digs it out. Donnelly just had it swept off his stick. Fed up the boards as Gillen got it out to center, and racing after it is Pankowitz. Simon coming back to help out, plays it away. Sent in front as Pankowitz picked it off on the back wall, but nobody there. And now Bobby J ahead for Ed Ward. Ward playing for the first time in 4 games after a knee bruise and assorted stitches above the eye. Dumps it in, but they rule from the wrong side of center ice. They rule that's an icing call, and that has Ed Ward a little bit perplexed, and can't say as I blame him there.
Tough one, actually.
It has been an interesting season for Manitoba. If you take their 28 games to date, you can pretty much split them right down the middle and see 2 different teams. They have found it here in the second half of the first third of the season, if you can follow that. And meanwhile, Detroit has struggled, relatively speaking, at home when you compare it to their road record. A tale of 2 teams for each team. Puck into the Manitoba zone. Phil Crow bumps Chris Tock. Tock handles it to the near side. Up the boards. The defensive pressure comes from the point as Shaw pinches in. Now Mike Stevens handles it in the near circle and feeds it ahead. The return pass he couldn't quite handle. Tardif had it knocked off his stick and brought in by Arneal. Arneal gets it to Stevens in the high slot, looking for anyone going to the net. It was Loader, but that was broken up by Tardif, who just sends it back into the Manitoba zone and changes for Detroit on the go. Jeff Riccardi back to get it, formerly of Indianapolis and Las Vegas. Feeds it ahead for Stevens. Through center ice, tripped up at the blue line. A penalty coming up to Detroit was Scott Arneal. And the first power play of the game will go Manitoba's way as Al Kimmel has a hooking penalty. It is going to go on Robert Dirk.
In the early going here, John, better speed by Manitoba, and they're definitely taking the body here early on, trying to establish that forecheck.
Well, the Moose played last night in Quebec and had an interesting travel schedule from there that oftentimes would have people thinking that they might not have any jump tonight. This Jean Perron coach team got here to Detroit and to their hotel around 1 o'clock this afternoon. After busing to Montreal immediately after the game in Quebec last night, they got there about 2 a.m., then flew into Detroit after getting up for a 6 a.m. wake-up at around 11:30, and by the time they arrived at their hotel, it was 1 o'clock. They are not well rested, but as you mentioned, seem to have some jump. Nearly gave it up in their own zone, but now on the power play, in they come. Right to the slot. Perrot reaches with the glove, and he cannot get his stick, or can't get his glove on that one. It's 1-0 as Chris Jensen went high to beat him, and that took only 19 seconds on the Manitoba power play.
Perrant has been beaten high to the glove side a few times here lately in the last few games. That is his style, the V style. The play was kind of a broken play, blue line. Good feed to the middle. The key there for Jensen, he got rid of it quickly, and Bernie seemed to be in between, on his way down. Got a piece of it, and it trickled. Looks like under his arm.
I thought he had it in his trapper. It didn't touch the back of the net, but it crossed the goal line, so it's 1-0. McLaughlin just backhanding it up the boards out of his own zone, alleviates pressure with an icing call. So the Moose have the early lead.
You can tell which house has the Vicks NyQuil and which doesn't. Bob and Fred both came home coughing, sneezing, stuffy, aching all over. Bob's house had a cold medicine which only relieves his stuffiness and aching. While Fred's home had Vicks NyQuil. It relieves all his symptoms, his coughing, sneezing, stuffiness, and aching. So unlike Bob, Fred gets the rest he needs. That's the restful plus of Vicks NyQuil. It's the cold relief you want to come home to. Vicks NyQuil.
You know what I'm sick of hearing about?
The internet.
The internet.
The internet. What are you doing?
Surfing the web.
Nice hair. Solarized pictures of dead fat rock stars. UFOs. $1 zillion worth of technology, and what are we doing with it?
Browsing.
Here's an idea. Use the internet for something useful, like running a business, okay? All right? No kids, no chat rooms, no smiley face. Just raw, naked, in your face capitalism. You want to surf? Move to Maui.
Before the puck is dropped. Saturday nights are spent here. SO NHL Saturday night. This weekend, TSN.
Or checking out any Ticketmaster location. 1-0 Manitoba as McLaughlin sends it again the length of the ice wide of the net, and this will be the third icing call off the stick of rookie Pete McLaughlin as it's touched up the face-off once again back into the Detroit zone. The Vipers would like to thank Visual Designs for their support of tonight's game. They provided the opening animation. For all your animation needs and graphics expertise, call Visual Designs, 800-842-6604.
Sean Perron trying to make sure that his team stays hot on the road. They're in the middle of a 4-game road trip. Started as far east as they possibly could, make their way back west. Tough schedule in the eye. Trying to make the most of it here on the road.
Not the most geographical advantageous trip. You go Quebec, Detroit, and Grand Rapids, Cincinnati, or is it the other way around? Cincinnati, Grand Rapids.
Cincinnati, Grand Rapids.
They're crisscrossing this great country. Simon leads a 3-man rush into the Manitoba zone. Drops it for the trailer. Shaw, his drive hit Corvo in front, and down he went. Back comes Pankowitz to center as up and down for the first time tonight. Offside are the Moose. We thought we might see a wide open style of hockey game because the Moose have been playing some pretty high scoring games of late, at least by the 96-97 standards, and that's the first real dose of it we have gotten. As you see, Manitoba has not had that much trouble scoring of late, but that goes hand in hand with some problems stopping their opponents as well.
Giving up the goals, but they're giving up great scoring chances as well. Talking to Jean Perron before the game, a little concerned with not only the number of shots they're giving up per game, but the quality chances that they're giving up.
Both his goaltenders, Brathwaite and Riendo, with over 90% save percentages, keeping the Moose in some games. Right now, the Moose with a 1-0 lead, 11:40 to go, opening period. Outlet pass up the left side, all the way back into the Detroit zone. This will be an icing call as Parrott gets there first to touch up. Jeff Parrott from The Paw, Manitoba, the only Manitoba native on the Viper Club.
That's right. I was going to say, John, that not only Bobby J, but Jeff Parrott going to see more ice time with Ian Herbers out, depending on how well Brad Shutt's back responds to the treatment. More ice time. Jeff's been very solid back there as well this season.
I believe his most offensive professional season saw him get all of 20 points. So you look at players like Parrott, Dirk, and Bobby J, and these are guys who stay at home, get their points when they come. Don't worry about it if they don't. As Dirk rips one on net off the draw, Parrott then fires it wide short side on the carom. However, in the absence of Herbers, that leaves really Brad Shaw as the most offensive defenseman remaining. He always is the most offensive defenseman on this team, but Herbers has had a pretty nice offensive year, particularly on the power play.
Yeah, Ian really picked it up, started last year in the playoffs. Was a big contributor to the playoffs offensively, and has carried it over this year, as you said, mostly on the power play.
Vipers try to clear twice up the middle, and neither time does it succeed. Telaire got a weak shot on net. Perront steering that away, and then Donnelly had the puck go behind him. He didn't see it. And the puck down low in the Detroit zone. Sean Telaire, a Manitoba native himself, able to freewheel along the near wall, brings it high, and then backhands it down low. Pass went right through and out to center as Jensen couldn't get his stick on it, and Donnelly will dump it in. Riendo has not been very busy of late, and he's out to play the puck. An early 6-2 shot advantage for Manitoba, make it 6-3 as Riendo nonchalants that one into the crowd from far off the right wing boards. Bobby J just got it on net. I thought for a minute he nonchalanted that thing right into his net.
He tried to kick it up over the crossbar, and you're right, he just barely cleared the crossbar and then cleared the glass. Started talking about the Manitoba natives, only one on the Vipers. A number of Manitoba natives here on this Manitoba Moose team, and they started training camp with a number of people in camp. You see the guys who are still on the roster are Neil, Gillen, Telaire, Allison, and Romanuk. They started with a good handful, almost a dozen guys hailed from Manitoba. John Perron putting this team together early on in the summer.
Bobby Jay's shot from the point didn't get through traffic. He is unable to corral the return pass from Savaglia, and the Vipers turned it over. Stevens in with a long wrist shot, and then he paid the price as he collided with Bobby Jay. Perron with the save. Puck sent to the line, held in there, and Eric Dubois got rocked as well. Vipers starting to throw the bodies around a little bit. Stevens along the far side, hit by Savaglia. Pulls away, but it was poked free by Pete, and Ward springs Drulia. Drulia into the Manitoba zone using his body. His shield couldn't pull the trigger, but he scored anyway! Off the toe of his stick, Riendo battled it, and he lost the fight.
He misfired, but he got the job done.
Now, not the two prettiest goals I think you'll see all year, but in talking with Steve Ludzik and Viper general manager Rick Dudley before this one, they both said we need more ugly goals as a result of going hard to the net. And that's the sum of this play by Drulia.
And you'll have two different coaching reactions. John Perron will not be happy with his goaltender, but Steve Ludzik will be very happy with the play that Pete Savaglia made on the half wall and Ed Ward made at the blue line to spring Drulia free.
And this is exactly the kind of goal Stan Drulia needs. Drulia has the most goals of anyone in the IHL in the last 3 years coming into this season, 133 over his last 3 seasons. He is a big-time scorer, but has only 7 thus far through 28 games this year, and he's been snake-bit. He has 25 shots on goal in his last 4 games coming into tonight. But no matter how good his chances have been, he hasn't been able to score in any of those games. And up until now, if it wasn't on the power play, really Stan hasn't produced much. 50% of his offense has come on the power play this season. Long drive doesn't get through traffic as Manitoba puts early pressure right back into the Detroit zone. Simon there to clear it away. And now he'll carry out. Ward and Savaglia will get the helpers as Detroit ties it. Shaw carries into the Manitoba zone. Pulls up, just wrist shot on net that Riendo's able to handle to the corner. And a few Bronx cheers, if you will, here at the Palace as Talk plays it away. Romanuk dumps it to center, and it's dumped into the Detroit zone where the Moose will get wholesale changes. Parrott weaves his way to center and chips it in on net again. Riendo careful to glove that one, and he will take no more chances. 8:51 to go in a tie hockey game. First period at the Palace.
Hi, everyone. Brendan Connor in the TSN newsroom. Hope you're enjoying our IHL hockey game, and hope you're ready to join Michael Landsberg and me for the next edition of Sports Desk coming up at 11 o'clock Eastern. We've got some NHL stuff to tell you about. Two best teams in the East going at it tonight. That's Hartford and Florida. And we've also got NBA action with the Raptors in Boston with a very real chance to win their first one on the road. And football and baseball news as well, all coming up on Sports Desk at 11.
Sometimes little things go unnoticed. This time it won't go unnoticed because Stan Drulia put the biscuit in the basket. Nice little play inside the blue line by Ed Ward to Drulia, and then hard work from there. He misfired, but all that hard work in their own zone paid off. Vinny Riendo, that's not one of his highlights. That won't show up in his personal highlight film.
Ward gets it to Tardif, and he scores! Detroit off the draw, able to control despite losing the draw, wins the battle on the back wall, and Ward with a quick pass to Tardif, and the Vipers have the lead.
Again, little things. Offensive zone face-off won by the Vipers. Quick shot. Again, Vinny Riendo off to a pretty shaky start here in the early going.
Tardif, who played 4 years of college hockey at the University of Maine, and Ed Ward. Nice return for him. 2 assists here in the opening period. But Tardif got the shot off quickly. That was the key there.
That was the key, and Riendo wasn't set. His feet were still moving. Vipers strike right back and take the lead.
2-1 Detroit. Be interesting to see how Manitoba reacts. And now Al Kimmel has a penalty on the play. And this is going to go against Manitoba, an elbowing call. And I think he's got Scott Allison here. Allison, who is not bashful about using that big frame of his at 6'4", 203. Leads his team in penalty minutes coming into tonight, and he did nothing to hurt that standing there.
Oh, great one. You said, how would they respond? Face massage to Bobby J by Scott Allison. Not exactly the response that Jean Perron was looking for, kind of an undisciplined response.
Well, you mentioned it in your keys to the game segment early on that the Vipers wanted to get out to an early lead on this team. Again, talking about their travel from last night. Were they going to feel like they were tired? Well, if they get behind, it's easier to feel tired. And the Vipers get their first power play of the game as a result. Savaglia hammers it around the board. Samsonov, the 18-year-old Russian rookie, to the corner after it. Simon along the wall as they overload the right side, gets it to Mongeau, and he and Savaglia play catch. Now they'll trade places to Simon at the line. His drive over top of the net. Mongeau looking for a deflection. Wired back around the boards and out as the Moose are able to clear. Half a minute gone, and the penalty to Allison. Vipers reset at center ice. This is Savaglia. One of two remaining original Vipers dumps it in. Eric Dubois sends it around, knocked down by Samsonov. Tripped up, but he kept it alive, and now Shaw at the line. To Savaglia, left wing half wall. Vipers are set up, 1:05 to go on the power play. Savaglia says we'll try the other side and sends it around. Simon at the right point has it there. Romanek forces him. Mongeau sends it over to Shaw. Shaw back across for Simon. Well, they're moving it nicely. Now Mongeau comes to the middle. His shot deflected by Shaw. Loose in front, and Shaw got it out of midair and sent it over top of the net as Riendo failed to cover. To the corner, Mongeau has it. 40 seconds to go on the power play. Wanted to reverse it, now does to Savaglia. Again, they'll trade places. To the line for Simon. Quickly shovels it right back to Savaglia. Pete on the goal line, finds Mongeau. Quick pass, Samsonov, save Riendo, and the rebound to the corner. Half a minute in the power play. Samsonov circles off the board, stick save Riendo as he snapped that one on net. Loose puck finally dug out along the far side and driven out to center ice. Vipers will get changes as they touch up. And fresh off the bench, this is Drulia. 10 seconds in the power play. He beats everybody, comes in, trying to give to toe drag it to the backhand. Loose puck, Riendo still hasn't covered. In front to Tardik, glove save Riendo. Boy, Vincent Riendo has not been able to find the handle tonight and nearly cost him again.
He has not helped himself out at all, John. Got very, very fortunate there. He went down with the easy save to cover it, and then gave a great second opportunity to Tardif, able to reach back and find it. Earlier on the power play, we talked about Samsonov not being able to score recently, but it hasn't been because of poor play. He is still dominated. Two excellent scoring chances that Riendo looked sharp on.
Sergei Samsonov has not scored a goal in over 2 weeks. And coming up next Monday, he will leave the Vipers for an 8-game span in which he will go over to Switzerland and join the Russian junior team at the World Junior Championships. We'll take a closer look at Sergei Samsonov, the one they call Sammy, coming up in our first intermission. Hope you can stick around and join us for that. The penalty to Allison is over. Vipers with plenty of chances, but come up empty on the power play. And now are offside as they come back into the Manitoba zone. With Samsonov and Sean Thaler in this game here tonight, two of the top rookies in the IHL being showcased.
Very, very even. A telling statistic to me, though, plus minus. Not really fair to really compare them against, team against team, because team situations are so different. But Samsonov leads this veteran-laden Viper team in plus minus, so even when he's not scoring, he's doing all the little things well.
For what it's worth, only two players, current players on the Manitoba roster, are plus players coming into tonight, and only one of them has been with the club all season, Russ Romanek.
Right, and I think the plus-minus stat is only relevant when you compare it to your own teammates, not across the league.
Good point. 6 minutes to go, first period. Detroit 2, Manitoba 1. And Scott Arniel not getting much puck support in his own zone. It was taken away by Donnelly. Far side, Mongeau with good work on the wall. Can't come up with it, though, and Stevens shovels it back the other way. Flipped into the Detroit zone by Arneal, who spun around as he goes in after it. Parrott back to play it. Sends it around. Donnelly gets it ahead. Mongeau knocks it out of midair. Over comes Ward to get it. Through center ice, Ed Ward across the line, looking for somewhere to go with it. Drops it. The trailers. Donnelly, his snapshot steered to the corner. Arneal headmans it the other way, and back come the Moose. Through center ice, waving at it with the glove was Parrott. Stevens can't get to it. Out came Perron to poke it back up the other way. Peter McLaughlin again uses the glass, and around it comes. Getting the handle on it, Bobby J. Now Drulia drives it in around the dasher. A few weird bounces off the glass in the stanchion here in the early going at the Palace. McLaughlin throws it in front, and that deflected just wide off the stick of Drulia. And now flipped up into the crowd out of harm's way by the Moose, who will get a whistle the easy way. 2-1 Detroit.
You can tell which house has the Vicks NyQuil and which doesn't. Bob and Fred both came home coughing, sneezing, stuffy, aching all over. Bob's house had a cold medicine which only relieves his stuffiness and aching. While Fred's home had Vicks NyQuil. It relieves all his symptoms, his coughing, sneezing, stuffiness, and aching. So unlike Bob, Fred gets the rest he needs. That's the restful plus of Vicks NyQuil. It's the cold relief you want to come home to. Vicks NyQuil.
You can be a part of a golden moment. Adidas and Foot Locker present Face Off in Geneva. Win a trip for 2 to Geneva, Switzerland, and see Canada's best juniors go for a 5th consecutive World Championship. You'll fly on Air Canada, Team Canada's official airline, and stay 6 nights at the luxurious Hotel Giron. Plus, tickets to the games, a ski day at Chamonix, France, and much more, including $700 in spending money. To enter, visit any participating Foot Locker location between November 18th and December 11th, and fill out a ballot for your chance to face off in Geneva.
NFL Prime Time. All the action Sundays on TSN.
And as I understand it, the TSN viewers will be with us as well as Savaglia scores right off the draw. And the wonder now has to be, will Vincent Riendo be with us very much longer?
He might grab a monitor at the end of the bench. Again, the importance of winning faceoffs in your own zone. Manitoba unable to do so. John Perron looking very perplexed here in the early going. Draw one cleanly by Savaglia. Riendo made the save, way out of position. Doesn't look like Vinny has much step in his game here right now.
Now Jeff Riccardi was on the doorstep as well. He fanned trying to clear it. By the time he turned around, Savaglia had potted it. It's 3-1. So far, I don't think the reaction Perron got is what he wanted. Now Samsonov 2-on-1 with Savaglia, and he just couldn't stick handle through Eric Dubois as he came to the slot. In a hurry the other way, Russ Romanek into the Detroit zone with a drop pass picked off by Samsonov, who came back. Good two-way play by the youngster there, and you can see why he's +12.
And he is the real deal, folks. If you haven't seen him before, his play without the puck has improved immensely in the first 28 games here this season.
He was deep in the zone that time and got all the way back. Now Simon with a rip. Kessel with the rebound, and it was just below the goal line. He couldn't pull it out and stuff it in, but a penalty coming up to Manitoba. And the Moose are running around in their zone on a regular basis, and lucky to be only down a pair, forced to take a penalty. Romanuk will get the game.
You have to characterize that as a good penalty. Dan Kessa, big, strong man, off the right post, looking like he's going to jam it home. Can't corral it. Why? Romanuk forced to hook him down.
It was Kessa who set up Simon, whose shot was the rebound Kessa was seeking. The leading Viper goal scorer, a original 5th-round pick of the Vancouver Canucks, Dan Kessa with 11 this season. A serious bid for his 12th there.
Manitoba perilously close to putting themselves in a tough situation here, trying to kill a penalty up, potentially to go down 4-1.
4 minutes to go in a first period that the Moose would like to get out of, no worse than down 3-1, and that's their predicament already. Simon thrown from the circle. Kessel will step in to take the draw. against Randy Gillen. The Moose have been particularly dangerous in shorthanded situations this season. 5 shorthanded goals in all in 28 games. 2 on the same penalty kill last night in Quebec in the first period.
5 different guys with shorthanded goals.
Randy Gillen had 1 of them last night. Here's Donnelly into the Manitoba zone, pulls up top of the right wing circle, sends it across. Shaw at the line, plays catches, they overload the left side with Simon, and now brings it to the middle. Donnelly, quick puck movement, finds Simon, back to Donnelly, shot it wide. Simon on the far boards, keeps it in, again for Donnelly, cutting in on his off wing, and he missed short side that time. Vipers moving it at will right now as Manitoba very static in the penalty kill. Shaw with a one-hopper that goes wide near side, and it's fired out by Chris Tock.
Make an excellent point. Manitoba very static on this penalty kill as they were on the first one. Could be a little bit tired, might be their style, but nowadays most teams are much more aggressive.
17 of the game's last 19 shots on goal have come off Detroit's sticks. Short-handed, Arneal rushing into the Detroit zone and overcame Simon with good support to take it away. Ahead for Donnelly, 45 seconds to go in the power play. Vipers wanting to finish a change as Donnelly's pass is broken up at center, and he now has to chase it all the way back into his own zone. Bobby J just spins away from the pressure of Scott McCrory and now moves it ahead at center. McCrory broke that up though. Jay throws it to center, waiting for the pressure, and getting it was Riccardi. Now he ices it. 20 seconds to go in the Detroit man advantage. Drulia drops it for Bobby J. On the left side, he finds Savaglia. Hit hard by Wilson on the far side. Loose puck deflected as Stevens tried to clear it. Came right across the slot. Samsonov keeps it in. Trying to get it back on the hash mark. A bouncing puck that he finally gets the handle on. Final seconds of Romanek's penalty now expire. He's out of the box. Both teams full strength. Detroit now 0 for 2 on the power play as Bobby J lets it go from the line. Kicked way out by Riendo between the circles. This time covered. And Romanek going to hurry across the Detroit line. Drop pass for Pankowitz, and his drive sticked away by Perron. To the line, Thiessen can't keep it in. Mongeau up with it. His pass picked off. Romanek brings it right back in. For Pankowitz, hauled down by Mongeau, and a penalty coming up to Detroit. With 1:33 to go in the opening period, Mongeau will go for hooking. Again along the lines of the penalty Romanek took moments ago, Darren. I think you have to categorize it as a pretty good penalty to take. Mongeau realized that if he let him get behind him, Pankowitz that is, he was in.
Return feed would have come to Pankowitz, and he would have been in all alone on Rich Perron. My, how it turns. The Vipers have a chance to build a 3-goal lead. Now they're forced at the end of the first period to protect a 2-goal lead.
And penalty killing has been one area where Steve Ludzik certainly feels there has been room for improvement this season on a hockey club that is 18-7-3 coming into tonight's action. The second best overall mark and point total in the entire IHL. However, it's only good for Detroit for second in their own division, as Orlando has owned the division and the league early on this season. Stevens in the corner. Manitoba 1 for 1 on the power play tonight, and it only took 19 seconds. That goal came from Chris Jensen. Behind the net, Shaw able to get it out as he uses the dasher to spin it around. Schneider sends it back in. Arneal on right wing for Manitoba. Feeds it to the slot. McCrory handles